Welcome to Android Authority on Air, the original Android Hangout show on Google+. I'm Derek Ross.
And I'm Scott Anderson.
This week we are joined with Jonathan Franklin, Joshua Vergara, and Christopher Wook. Thank you guys for joining us. Glad to have you here as always.
Great to be here.
All right, so this week we are going to talk about some device news surrounding some rumors, such as something Facebook might be doing. We're going to talk about some Nexus 4 stuff. We're going to talk about the HTC One and what we did to that gorgeous phone here at Android Authority. We have some carrier news, and mainly T-Mobile, as well as some app updates. So let's get started with some device rumors and some device news. So what do I want to hear first? Some rumors, some speculation, or some actual news? You know what? Let's start out with actual news. So the Nexus 4 got a slight new design this week. People actually, it might even have been last week, I saw people actually starting to talk about it. So Nexus 4 started shipping, refurbs as well as new ones started showing up to people that had a slight, very slight redesign. And the redesign was a few nubs or nipples or bumps, whatever you want to call it, on the back. And that does a lot, because right now the original Nexus 4, I guess we'll call it, the OG Nexus 4, is a completely flat back of smooth glass. And if you own a Nexus 4, you know that you can't set it on top of something with the slightest degree of an angle where it will slide off. Or no angle. I mean, it's a slippery bastard. I'll tell you that right now. It likes to slide. I've set it on top of, well, when I owned the Nexus 4, I've set it on top of things that it should not have slid off of, and because it's smooth glass and completely flat, it wound up on the floor multiple times. Thankfully, nothing ever happened. But it was interesting. I used to set it on my laptop, and I used to watch it slowly creep off my laptop. Anyways, so those nubs help that. With the nubs, it's not going to slide. But also, when the Nexus 4 is laying completely flat, the speaker's on the back. So if you're trying to, listen for a text message beep or some type of notification or even a ring, it makes it quieter because you're muffling the speaker. So
and you can always put it on its face, but you're not going to see the notification light. So
exactly. So you're kind of like, huh? Should I? Which way should I put it? You flip flop. So now
it's basically like having an iPhone.
Don't compare the Nexus 4 to an iPhone.
Just saying.
All right. So if you don't want to do that whole flip flop of which way am I supposed to lay my phone? Well, now it's being raised like a millimeter off the surface, and that millimeter, 2 millimeters, whatever it is, that tiny little bump might be enough to help you be able to hear the speaker a little bit better and hear your notifications a little bit better. So some people are thinking, yes, that's an awesome design change. Then other people were like, no, the original design was beautiful. What are you doing? You're putting a blemish on the back. So what do you guys think about that? Is it awesome, you Nexus 4 owners, or is it a blemish? Is it something you wish you had, Josh?
To the people who are complaining, how often is someone gonna pick up your phone and look at the back like this and just be like, this phone looks terrible, or something like that?
Is that a piece of dirt on there? Try to scratch it off.
I will say one thing though. When I heard that there was a new design for it, I thought, just how much are they going to change it? And then when you think about it, there's really not much of a change at all. I'm actually interested in how they came to that decision. Did a lot of people complain? Did anything like that, or was it just forward thinking on their part? That being said, the slide is a very nice fix. I once saw my Nexus 4 sliding very slowly off the hood of my car once. Ran to it in slow motion and jumped and caught it. But yeah, that slide is a problem every now and then. But to the people who are complaining about that tiny little change on the back, I think you're nitpicking at that point,
I think it's a great design thing. It's very useful, and my phone slides everywhere, even if I think it's a flat surface, and I got to take out my leveler before in order to make sure that it's safe to put it down. But it moves a lot, and hopefully this fixes it.
Yeah, it's definitely. I've seen a lot of people that did complain about the slipperiness of the device. You know, that love it otherwise. It's good to see that they make a decision like that even mid-device cycle to fix something like that for customers, because you don't see that a lot.
Now these little knobs, it still might slide with these little knobs. It's not going to be a one, stop fix. These things are very tiny. If it's on an angled surface, it's still a slippery device. It's still going to slide, but this is definitely going to help. Now, something else they changed, and I don't even know why they changed it, besides the fact that they could. The backing around the camera lens is now smaller, so there's less of a less glass, plastic, whatever surrounding the actual lens. The lens itself isn't any smaller. It's just a smaller hole that the lens fits in, so it's a tighter design. I don't know if that has any effect on any type of camera quality, or if it's just, hey, we can change this and it's not going to affect anything for the worse, so let's do it. You camera guys out there, Josh and Wookie, what do you think? Any thoughts on why that was possibly done?
More cosmetic nitpicking, to be honest. The glass covering around what is actually just that tiny lens right there, it really shouldn't change the look of the pictures or anything like that. It really shouldn't. You're not going to get a vignetting around the image. That shouldn't happen. So really, it's probably just another cosmetic nitpick, to be honest.
Look at how small the Lumia's glass is. I mean, mostly the glass on there is just for aesthetic reasons anyway, to make people think that they're getting a huge camera. The 1X, like the 1X, and then it had the exposed glass and stuff like that. They're doing it for, kind of like consumer appeal more than the functionality.
Makes sense.
All right, so let's talk about some rumors and some speculation, because who doesn't love some rumors and speculation from unannounced devices? I know I do. It makes me wake up in the morning to see what I can gab about, such as things that were posted on Google Plus as a complete joke earlier today, and someone took that complete joke seriously and tweeted me about it on Twitter, and then the person the joke was made about, Cyanogen, told me that was the furthest thing from the truth. Apparently, what Aaron and I were doing, people took it serious. Okay, if it's in a meme, chances are the meme is not serious. Anyways, I was getting off on a tangent.
I've seen some serious memes.
All right, so if conspiracy Keanu Reeves is in a meme, chances are it's not serious.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah. So earlier today, when Aaron Katzen and I were doing things like, oh no, Cyanogen Steve Kondik quit Samsung and he uses Facebook. He must be going to work on the Facebook phone, because that's what Forbes thinks. And if Forbes says it, it must be true.
It always is.
Anyway, so yeah, that's probably the furthest thing from the truth. And if you believe the jokes that Aaron and I put out there, yeah. All right, so let's make up some more stuff. Let's talk about the Nexus, or no, I'm sorry, the Facebook rumors that are coming out. So Facebook has been rumored for a very long time to be making a phone.
A year or two, right?
What's that?
It's been rumored for like a year or two.
Yeah, exactly. It's been rumored for a very long time, and it was rumored to be, the HTC Mist. The leaked specs from forever ago were a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Snapdragon S4, gig of RAM, a 4.3-inch 720p display, and a 5-megapixel camera sensor. So these specs are from like a year ago. They could change. It's a low-end, medium-range. It's a medium-range phone. It's a very affordable phone from the looks of these specs. It turned out to be true. So we haven't really heard anything from in a long time about this. And then Facebook puts out a flyer yesterday, saying, hey, on April 4th, come check us out and come see our new home on Android. Quotes, come see our new home on Android. So initially people said, well, Facebook, we know they're planning a new app rollout to match their new newsfeed and new design and everything, so that's what we're looking at. And then the Wall Street Journal reports that Facebook was going to do something a little bit more than that. They were going to do something where they were going to put Facebook first, where the first thing you see on your phone is Facebook. So reading...
Because that's healthy.
Well, reading into that, in what the Wall Street Journal says, it sounds like it's going to be more than a widget, because they already have a widget now. And because they're talking about come see our new home on Android, a lot of people are speculating that it's going to be an Android launcher or something to that effect, almost like HTC's Blink feed, because the Wall Street Journal reported that an HTC device would be the first device to demonstrate this capability. So why would Facebook be doing this? Well, this move is designed to increase the amount of time somebody spends on their service, on Facebook. They have shareholders to please. They need to make money. They need to boost ad revenue. So right now they're not making any money on mobile ads. So they need to do that. So I guess my question for you guys in the audience right now, as well as everybody else participating in this hangout, is do you think that Facebook is going to come out with an Android launcher and Facebookify, the Android experience that way, or are they going to go even further and actually fork Android and come out with their own, fully Facebook-branded, Facebook-ified device, similar to like what Amazon did with the Fire line, where it's Android, but it's completely different than Android. So do you are we thinking a forked version of Android here, guys, or are we thinking a launcher? And either one is a huge step for a social network to say, hey, we're going to put a launcher on there. And what would be the benefits of having a Facebook launcher? Why would you want to do this?
Well, think of hooks in general. Hooks meaning data hooks. How much information can they get from you? Just like Google has its hooks in Android, and a lot of stuff that is in the cloud is on our phones and accessible. Ideally, I think Facebook would want to do a forked version, and they could have a lot more hooks that way. With a home screen replacement, they could definitely drive more traffic, and it would be more in your face. But I think it might be a baby step home screen launcher at first. That's my thought.
I don't know. What do you think, John?
Well, I mean, it's feasible that they do this. It's kind of interesting at this point in time. Come see our new home on Android, because their application is still terrible. That if they think that they can get into the home screen launcher business, or that they can get into the hardware and providing software for a piece of hardware business, as poorly as they write code for Android already. I mean, they're the company that had to patch up Dalvik because they were calling so many methods that nobody else had even ran into this problem except them.
And you know what? Let's say that's the issues they were running into, because this is something they were working on.
Well, this is just for their application. This is for Gingerbread.
And that was for Gingerbread. Right.
And you're talking about, they just do such a poor job on Android development. This is effort they could have invested in fixing their application, but this also makes you wonder if they had a different project going on the side the whole time. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't think Facebook realizes that his users don't care about them as much as they think they do. Most people I know that use Facebook don't really love Facebook. They just they use it, and the ones that do use it heavily are usually playing games that aren't really accessible on a mobile device anyway. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out.
So let's explore the option that Facebook keeps a standalone app where it's the app and that's all that it is. Maybe it's a new version of what they have now, and then they come out with the Facebook launcher. So you have a choice, or they could just make the Facebook, it is the launcher. If you want Facebook, this is what you're getting. They could literally force this change on you. So that's going to drive people away.
Except for teenage girls. I mean, we're all sitting here thinking of our own kind of way of looking at it. But if you think about a completely different portion of the market who doesn't really care what Android is at all, Facebook launchers might actually make sense for them. It makes me kind of shiver, but that could be something that, you know, people would be interested in.
Anybody ever think about it could be an app store?
Well, let's play on that, Scott. So let's say they do come up with their own launcher or even their own fork of Android. Either one would be okay for this explanation here. So you want to see your news feed. Well, you want to see your news. Well, your news is your news feed. You don't need to open up a third-party app because people will share news headlines that you need to read. People will like stories that you want to read, as well as your friends, shower updates and bathroom updates. Those type of things will come in. And pictures and everything. So you have that right on your home screen. Now, Facebook already allows for an instant upload, but let's say it's a special camera app. It's Instagram or their own camera app like they had pushed out, before. So
made specifically for taking pictures of yourself and cropped perfectly for cover photos and
food.
So it has filters built into it, or maybe it's Instagram. Maybe that's the new Facebook camera, or whatever they're going to do. It's some type of specific Facebook camera that automatically has the instant upload, which you can already do. But with this new launcher, it's integrated and you can't escape it. If you use this new launcher or this new fork of Android, it's turned on by default. You can probably turn it off. But so they have the camera functionality, the instant upload functionality, the newsfeed functionality. Now I say, wait, well, we need an app store. Well, Facebook has kind of a mobile app store now. I hate to call it that because it's not really an app store. But let's expand upon that. Let's say that if they were to push out a launcher, it could be like Chameleon. It could be an HTML5 launcher, which means their apps that they have on their app store, more apps would work, right? So now we have our own apps. We have our own app store. We have camera upload. Well, email. Facebook has email. There's your email apps, and there's your own ecosystem, right? So now we're getting somewhere. Facebook also allows you to do document sharing now. It's a new feature. Well, new relatively in the past so many months. I don't know when it exactly came out because I don't use Facebook, but I do know you can do document sharing. There's your Drive type app. I mean, not really, but these things could really go somewhere and turn into almost like what Amazon is doing. I'm saying things that could happen. These are all speculations. Who knows? I could be completely wrong, but I could see these things turning into something. And you guys think I'm completely off my rocker here, or?
No, not really. I mean, the idea of a Facebook phone, like Wookie said, it's very jarring. I really don't think that'd be a very good device to have in any stretch of the imagination. But to have a launcher of some sort, or to have something on the software front, I think would work out even much better for them. It's something that I thought Ubuntu should have done. Instead of making a whole new phone, just release a launcher. Because it's very elegant, it looks very nice, but to have a whole device built around just that one thing might be a little weird, and I feel the same way about Facebook.
I mean, think about it from a business perspective. They're trying to get more relevant data for users and serve them more relevant things. So they're trying to do what Google does, but kind of push them out of the way if they use Facebook. Right now, their shareholders, they need money. They need to make a lot of money in order for their stock to go up. So right now, they're just trying to get hooks and then serve you stuff.
It's an interesting thing, just something real quick, as the Amazon got into it, as a kind of a loss leader to lead their services. There's nothing saying that, really Facebook's only chance at getting a lot of people to adopt it is to tie into the advertising side. But there's nothing saying they couldn't subsidize the OEM, kind of like Google does with the Nexus program, and sell the device dirt cheap in exchange for the fact that they're going to basically force users to generate traffic to their website for ad revenue. So, if they force it on people rather than people that just aren't clicking on their ads now, they could generate revenue to the point to drive, a phone to be much cheaper than the same, level of hardware for, an equivalent device without Facebook's software on it.
Yeah.
Well, the part that is interesting to me is it's pretty obvious from the tagline that was put out that they're putting their eggs in Android's basket. I'm very whatever this is, it's obvious that's going to be based upon Android. How polarizing is that going to be for users of other platforms? And I'm really interested to see what the blowback would be on that for, say, iPhone users, Windows Phone users who say, oh, you have this whole new thing for Android. Where's our love? Stuff like that.
I can see that. Yeah. Now we have a question related to the subject. Zach Young wants to know about the rumor that Andy Rubin going to Facebook. I'm gonna say no, and I'm gonna leave it at that. That Android is his baby. Yes, he's no longer, heading Android. Yes, he is an entrepreneur at a startup and could go to Facebook and help them launch a new device. But that doesn't make sense because Larry Page in his address said Andy Rubin was going to start his next chapter at Google. He didn't say start his next chapter ... or next chapter in his life. He said next chapter at Google. So I'm pretty sure Andy Rubin's going to Project X, X Labs, whatever you want to call it, where they do have a product coming out that needs to be fostered from the ground up. I can't see this happening in a million years. Now, it is Silicon Valley. Yes, anything can happen, but
It's not going to happen.
I will eat this Android beanie if Andy Rubin goes to work for Facebook. This Android beanie, I will cook
Wait,
it.
ever, or in like the next week?
Ever.
Okay, fair enough.
I will eat this Android beanie. I will dip it. I don't know what's good with cotton, like ketchup and salt or something, like mustard.
His Twitter's blowing up right now.
he's like, yo, Andy, if you go work for Facebook, this random guy on the internet's gonna eat his hat. Like, you need to do it. Could he go there for consulting? No.
I don't think he will.
No, I'm saying if it happens, I'm gonna eat this thing. I'm eating it if it happens. I do not.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, you heard it here first. Okay, so let's move on and talk about some app updates here. Break up the devices before we get into Team Wookiee and Vergara.
All right, so Google Plus got updated, the mobile app. One big thing that is nice is when you upload a picture from mobile, it doesn't like have the gray thing, so it's like immediately uploaded. It's not that lag. Do you guys ever experience that?
Yeah.
Did we experience the lag, or did we experience the new way?
No,
I think everybody had the lag.
Let's say I uploaded a picture and then it'd be gray and nobody would know what it is. And I'd ask a question and it wouldn't be there.
3 hours, and then they'd finally pop up.
So that bug is fixed, thank goodness. It's basically got a kind of a new overlay. The comments constantly change, and you get to see different comments. How do you guys like that feature? It's more in your face, and there's more going around. How do you guys like the comments?
Well, it's cool, but it's not really useful if you have a thread that has like 130 comments, and it really doesn't.
It's cool in the beginning when there's only a few comments. I like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you're getting 100 comments or so, it's like, who cares? But it's still a nice feature. My biggest complaint about the new version, if I had to complain, was the +1 in comments is reversed. That hates my thumb, or my thumb hates that. Now I have to move my thumb an extra inch just to like +1 everything. I hate it.
You got to work for liking.
I know. You got to work for that +1 now.
And then the Gmail app got the pull-down notification with the archive or reply. That's nice.
Yeah, that was really nice.
That's very handy.
I don't know why that wasn't there before, but it's Google. Sound search got updated. I don't know what got updated in this.
I'll tell you what definitely got updated. People in the UK can actually do a sound search now.
Because the changelog is, or what's new is first Play Store release, so they haven't changed that.
Yeah. Well, my buddy Lee Jarrett from Google Plus Daily actually took some screenshots. He's over there across the pond in the UK, and he took some screenshots, whereas before you weren't able to do a sound search in the UK, and now he can. So maybe that was the biggest update, just adding support for different regions, different countries.
All right. Play Movies got updated. This is a pretty interesting update. When you're watching a movie, you can pause it and check the actor that's in there. So they're using facial recognition, I think, to check the actor and give specs about it. That's pretty neat. Have you guys used that?
Specs on the actor?
Yeah, like while you're watching a movie, and then you just pause it on an actor. It's pretty cool.
Haven't gotten to try it yet, but it looks really nice.
It works well.
I want to zoom in on an extra and see if I can get views on an extra.
Oh, yeah, that'd be fun. Also, Chrome Beta, like it does every week, got updated again. Chrome Beta is getting to be a viable option for a browser replacement.
I deleted Chrome the day that Chrome Beta came out. I
did too, yeah.
I don't have Chrome on my device. I just use Chrome Beta.
But it's getting a lot better and a lot faster.
Yeah.
Normally I push people to get stable channels, but in this case, the stable was so bad that it's just worth getting to beta to stay up to date.
Yeah, and I like their rollout timing. You know, it's constant, which is really nice. Tasker got a Hollow makeover, which is nice, and it's also on sale for $199.
Which is good because that's normally a $6.50 app, I believe. It's a $6.49, maybe it's even $6.99. But either way, it's a heck of a discount.
It's like a 70% off sale.
Yeah, so Tasker allows you to automate a lot of things on your phone. But if you're constantly turning off Wi-Fi, GPS, Bluetooth, it can do a lot more than that. But people use it a lot for those type of things. But you can have it set up to do something silly like whenever you connect to your home Wi-Fi network, if it to automatically turn on your Google TV and put it on your news channel or something like that. You can do a lot of neat automation with it.
Yeah, real quick, I heard. I just remembered now that I thought about it. There was a story that I saw on Reddit of somebody using Tasker on his Android phone to send a text to his wife when he was at work. Like it showed the location base inside of the phone. If he was still at work after a certain time, he texted his wife that he was going to be late.
Yeah,
I actually do something similar with NFC Task Launcher. Well, I do it once every maybe 2 weeks because I forget to do it every day. But I have an NFC tag at work set all my preferences at work. I tap the tag when I get there, and it turns off things and turns on things. But one of the actions is to send my wife a text message saying, "Hey, honey, I made it to work." And then when I tap it at the end of the day, it turns everything on or off depending on what it needs. And then it sends an additional text message saying, "Hey, honey, I'm leaving work." But yeah, I only do that once every 2 weeks. Or I don't remember to do it too often.
All right, and then Action Launcher. I believe Jonathan, you use this. Action Launcher basically got updated with a new feature called Shutters. Shutters is awesome. Basically, you can swipe an icon in a folder or out of a folder and bring up the widget of that icon.
Well,
pretty cool stuff. It's very accessible. It makes it a lot easier to use. Jonathan, have you used this yet?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome because you can have your home screen set up like normal, like if you have your browser icon, and you don't have to have a gigantic widget taking up real estate, where if you, like with Chrome, you just swipe up on the icon, it brings up your big bookmarks widget, and you can find yourself a bookmark real quick without having to take up an extra screen for it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I haven't tried it. It sounds neat though. Maybe I should give it. Is it free or you gotta pay for it?
It's paid out, but
So I can try it for a few minutes before I request a refund. Okay.
yeah.
Very cool.
Okay.
Another app that got updated. If you're a Google TV fan, I'm gonna say that I'm drawing a blank here. Primetime. Primetime got updated this week. So if you're a Google TV user, you know what Primetime is. It's the app guide that tells you what shows are playing based on different genres and so forth. It got updated to now include Amazon Prime content. Before it didn't list. So if I'm, let's say, watching, I'm watching Law and Order, and I hit the guide, and it's like, oh, hey, look, you can buy Law and Order season 5 on Amazon or something like that. So it allows you to see Amazon content as well as you could, other content that you could previously see, such as Netflix, which is nice. It ties into then the version 3 of Google TV, which will allow you to launch the Amazon Prime app, the official app. As well as another Google TV update is Plex Pass. Plex Pass actually gets an update almost every week, though, so it's really not that big of news. It's a new version of Plex, a really awesome redone version of Plex, and it got updated this week. So we have I'm not going to kick him out of the room. This is an Android fan in trading here. This is my son joining us for the very first time on Android Authority. He wanted to come down and say hi. He has an Android tablet. And Logan, what's your favorite game to play?
14 picks.
Yeah, 14 picks. 14px, that game from Reddit. He loves to play that game. Good night, buddy. I love you. Well, they did say hi. All right, so 14 Picks is a great game for kids, basically. So I don't remember the developer, 14px. I don't really know how you say it, but yeah, my son loves that game. I play it with him all the time. He's a big Android gamer. I'll tell you that right now. He games on Android more than I am, and he's only 3 years old. All right, so yes, as I was saying, Plex Pass got updated, and it's a nice update. A lot of bug fixes and a few additional features. So if you are a Plex guy, you should definitely check that out. So Scott, do we have any other app updates that are worth mentioning? I mean, I know SoundCloud got an update. Apparently, it does tablet UIs better, I guess. But anything else on the up? Actually, we should talk about SoundCloud since we are on SoundCloud. SoundCloud.com/Android Authority. You might be listening to us right now on SoundCloud. We had a couple thousand downloads, I think, a week on there. Anyways, so beyond app updates. And my son interrupting the show. Sorry about that, everybody. But I'm a good dad. I'm not going to kick him out of the room without telling him good night, giving him a kiss. Let's talk about the HTC One. Our buddy Chris Wookie a few weeks ago was at the HTC One event. He covered the event there and got to play around with HTC One and do a bunch of reviews. His official review went up as we received a unit to do a review with recently, and then he sent it to Josh for Josh to do some interesting stuff with. So let's talk about the HTC One here, Wookie. Tell us what you liked about it, anything you didn't like. Anybody out there that's looking to purchase the HTC One, this guy here, he's played with it, he's put it through the tests. He's wookified it, if you will. So let us know your take on it.
The very first thing, actually, that really impressed me was boom sound. Surprisingly enough, I'm going to say this right away. It's not for audiophiles. Beats Audio isn't for audiophiles. But what they did with those speakers sounds huge. I was really, really impressed. They made a big deal out of it at the event in New York, but in something that crowded with all the music and parkour going on, you can't really tell what these little speakers sound like. But when I first started playing stuff on there, I was amazed at the sound coming out of this little phone. It's seriously the biggest sounding phone I've ever heard.
You mean this speaker? This one?
All right, Wookie, let me pause you for a second. You remember when we were at CES and we played with the Pantech Discover?
Discovery?
Yeah. Hey, now. I called it the right name right now. So, remember, that was a loud-sounding phone. Do you remember?
Yeah. No, I do, because I did a review of that, too.
Is the one louder than the Pantech's phone?
Yeah, it's both louder and bigger sounding. I don't know what they did, but it really sounds huge.
Because I remember the Discover sounded loud. I mean, we could hear it in the noisy CES hall. It was... So that's impressive that they're blowing that away.
I think they actually made the chambers bigger for the speakers themselves.
Yeah.
You can actually go lower without straining.
Yeah, the low end is surprisingly boomy. You're not going to listen to music with it and hear, great highs and great lows. You're never going to do that with a speaker that low. I mean, speaker that small. But for watching movies and things like that, it's really pretty cool.
I will tell you though, if any manufacturer makes a speaker that good, I'm gonna get that phone on the first day. One day.
So what do you think of Wookie? What do you think of the actual camera and build quality of the phone?
Okay, the build quality is great. Well, we'll get to Josh on that in a little bit, but I mean, just the way the phone feels and everything, it was really probably the best feeling HTC phone I've ever used. As you guys know, I'm a DNA owner, and it seems like HTC keeps tweaking the sizes on these devices until it gets just about perfect, and that's what the HTC One is. And I know it sounds like I'm gushing here, but it really was, except for the power button, really nice to hold and use. Everything felt in the right place except for that power button. Not only is it still on top, it's over on the left. So, and if you're left-handed, it might be cool, but for a right-handed person, it's really hard to get to that at all.
Yeah, right over here on the top. Just showing you real quick.
All right, so you mentioned you're a DNA owner. I'm a DNA owner. There is a rumor, and there's FCC documents, yada yada yada, that this thing might be coming to Verizon. So let's just say that it does come to Verizon for this argument's sake. Would you switch if contracts weren't an option? Didn't matter, and spending money didn't matter. Would you switch from the DNA to the One?
Absolutely, absolutely.
What was your main reason for saying that?
The main reason is well, first, it's faster. Second, I like the feel and I like the aluminum better. I like the display. I can't say is really any better, but just being that it's a little bit smaller, it's a little bit sharper. And not that the DNA's display isn't sharp already.
Well, I mean, it's going to have higher PPI because it's a smaller.
Exactly. It's crazy. It's like 468 PPI, I think. So that's pretty impressive. The camera gets a lot of hype, and I thought it was good. It was especially good in low light, but besides that, I really didn't think it was that much better than the DNA's camera. I mean, I took photo, and I thought later on I might end up doing a versus, which I don't think is going to happen, but I did take photos and compare between the DNA and the HTC One. And really, in a lot of the photos, there wasn't that much of a noticeable difference unless you moved into low light. In low light, the One's camera was much better.
Okay.
The only problem was the megapixel camera.
So if you're watching right now live on either YouTube or on Google Plus, and you have any questions for Wookie on the HTC One, what he thought, what his thoughts were on any of the features, feel free to drop a comment in, and he'll be glad to answer that for you. So we liked the HTC One at Android Authority. We liked it so much that we decided to destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a drop test on it. Well, more so Josh did. So I'm going to pass the floor over to him, and he's going to tell us all about how he destroyed this beautiful device, but at the same time he also destroyed another device. And
yes,
which one held up better, if there was a winner, and he'll tell you all about it.
I already talked to Wookie the other day, and I just profusely apologize for the treatment that I gave his new favorite phone. But yeah, we decided to do a drop test on the HTC One primarily because of that aluminum backing, the new type of body that it has, which is quite similar to the iPhone 5 in that it has an aluminum backing with the glass on the front. Went out to the heart of LA, went to the Mulholland Drive Hollywood sign stop, so you can get a little bit of a nice scenery in the background. For the most part, okay, I'm going to respond to some people right now who've been commenting on the YouTube page. Nothing about the drop test was deliberate in one way or the other in terms of if I had favoritism on one side or not on the other, because it really was just incredible bad luck that when I dropped literally from my pocket the iPhone in the first test, it went like this. I dropped it and it just started to drift like that. And when it fell on,
And drop tests this is what happens. They're subjective, not unless you're a machine and you're sitting there dropping them the exact same way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are real world drops. You know, when you pull a phone out of your pocket and you accidentally drop it, you don't drop it the same way every time.
Exactly, it could go any which way.
So these are real world scenarios.
Mm-hmm,
well, you did make the effort to actually drop the one on its face to show what it does do if it does drop on its face. I mean, if you were extremely biased, you could have said, well, it doesn't happen in a regular scenario.
Well, HTC One won, and then walk away. But by the end of it, we did notice that the HTC One didn't have any problems on the screen whatsoever. And we knew it was because it never fell on its face. So we decided, okay, let's just drop it on its face. I went even higher up to make sure that the impact was good, and sure enough, the end result was this. It's almost like art right there. You have that lattice right there in the middle of all those cracks. But it held up really well, and to me, I would definitely say that the HTC One gets a lot of points for its new design because it held up very well. But at the same time, you could say the same for the iPhone 5. Of course, I personally wouldn't pick a winner between the two because they're just that darn similar. And in the test that I did, aside from this poor little speaker grill that popped off of the HTC One, it held up just as well as the iPhone did, and you could say it the other way around. The iPhone held up just as well as the HTC One did. I gotta tell you though, my favorite part of the entire day when we were doing that was it's a highly tourist-heavy spot. So people kept coming in waves from tour buses and stuff like that. I had an audience for like half the test.
Yeah, I was actually there. My wife and I were when we were out in LA back in December. We went to that exact spot on a tour bus. So when I saw you doing that, I was like, wow, how is there nobody there? Like there was tons of people there. We were there. And then as the video went on, you saw more people around. And did you have to tell people, yes, I'm destroying $1,500 worth of equipment for the fun of it, like where people were curious?
It was funny. It was really funny because we had that one little area where you could see the sign, and whenever we saw people coming up those stairs, luckily I had my parents there to sort of give me a hand. We just like picked up all the equipment and moved away, but I left the phones on that little platform in the middle, just in plain sight, just to see what people would say.
Yeah, there's like a circular something in the middle. Isn't it metal or something in the
like
middle?
That, yeah. And I left the phones on there completely destroyed, and I should have I probably should have recorded some of the reactions, but people came up and started asking.
That would have been good B footage right there.
Yeah, I would have. But the cameras were like all facing the other way because we were just worried about doing the tests.
Yeah.
They came up and they said, are you comparing the iPhone to a Droid? And the whole thing of people don't know it's an Android phone, they don't know the HTC One. What about the Galaxy? It was like, did you drop the Galaxy? It was like, yeah, we did that already. Stuff like that.
You said, hey, check back in a month or so, we might be dropping the new Galaxy.
Exactly. What people did tell me though, yes, HTC. We were slightly corrected in the video by a commenter that HTC has used aluminum in the past in their phones. That being said, though, in the mainstream market, for people who wouldn't know that already, like general users, this is going to be a big deal because it's to them the first aluminum Android phone, and there were a lot of really good reactions for it. It deserved all those reactions. Everyone came up to it and said, "I would buy this phone in a heartbeat." So they're very, from what I saw, very small sample size. People were very excited about the HTC One.
That's one thing that I think people don't
need this. They need this. Sorry, John. They need this type of publicity because not a lot of people know about the One. They don't have the marketing budget that Samsung does.
Yeah.
If there was one bullet point that I would push from HTC's perspective, because I see a lot of their ads pushing things like blink, feed, and boom sound, and those are nice, but the device is beautiful enough and striking enough that needs to be the thing that they really push on marketing with their limited resources. Is it looks much better than the S4 does. I can't think of too many people that would deny that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and based upon the reactions that people had there, it's true. And the fact that they're not advertising that more, I mean, they
it
really
makes me
should.
question them too. The features that they come out with are cool, but I mean, they're not that compelling. Other than, the device is just beautiful.
Yeah, if Samsung's going to push so much software in their release or their announcement, whatever you want to call it, of the S4, HTC should go with their strong suit. And ever since I could remember, HTC has always had some of the best build quality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about one more thing to device news here. Before we move on, if you have any questions about the drop test or the HTC One, anything that Wookiee might more information, a question about a feature or so forth, or anything about the mechanics of the drop test, what Josh had to do, or anything, just feel free to say something in the comments. You can even flame them. We don't care.
Oh, come on now.
So, anyways, while you're leaving a comment or two here, I just want to. Dan Charlton, staple of the show, wasn't able to make it tonight. He's watching some. I think he's watching basketball right now. Anyways. I wanted to have a little bit of Dan whiny time for him. He was last night we had to postpone the show due to myself and Scott actually not being able to make it. But Dan was going to bring this up. But there was people, now that LTE is rolling out on T-Mobile, there are people talking about getting LTE to work on T-Mobile and ranting and raving about how easy it is to do. And then they do it, and then they're saying, oh, it's not as fast as other people. Well, you got to remember that this thing doesn't. The Nexus 4 doesn't have a power amplifier in it, so it's going to use more battery power, and it's going to be a little bit slower than what somebody else is getting. You're going to get great LTE speeds if you do this. Yes. Is it awesome that you're doing something you shouldn't be doing? Sure, but it's complaining that the speeds aren't the same as what somebody else is getting, on a Note 2 that is made for that network and actually has all the components to have fully working LTE, then you really shouldn't complain. You're complaining about something you got working on a network that the device shouldn't be working on. So
I think people thought it was normal speed ranges until they saw that Note 2, where when you launch a new LTE market, the speeds are always like 50 megabits.
Yeah. So is 25 megabit down fast? Yes, it's fast. But the Note 2 is getting 50? You're still getting 25. That's still fast.
And your battery's getting sucked like no other.
Go back to HSPA Plus, because it's not really that much faster than what you were getting, right? Or maybe a little bit, but anyways. So yeah, that brings us on to T-Mobile with some carrier news. Scott is going to talk about how they are no longer a carrier, right? They're the uncarrier.
Yeah, so T-Mobile kind of, we kind of knew it was coming. There was a lot of leaked stuff about it, but basically they're doing away with the carrier relationship type thing. How you have to have a relationship with a carrier for a long time because of contracts. And T-Mobile basically wants to eliminate that, and they want you to have non-contract and non-contractual amounts of time that you're with them, so they're going to go month to month.
I think
what do you guys think about doing the month-to-month as opposed to the relationship as like a 2-year?
Well, I think their CEO put it best when he said, contracts are bullshit. Customers love smartphones. Customers hate contracts.
He's right.
I mean, I don't really know how else to say it any other way. I fully agree with that.
I don't think there's anything that you could say about a contract that is a consumer move. It is an anti-consumer move that's designed to lock you in. There's nothing for the average user that contracts benefit.
I think it is an old business model that worked perfectly with dumb phones, because dumb phones were not changing at the rate of smartphones, and therefore people didn't care as much on what phone they had, because the phones, they couldn't, there was no tiers to them. You could do the same stuff with every phone.
Yeah.
So right now with the changing, technology and how fast it's changing, people want to get a new device when something new comes out. And you can't do that on a 2-year contract. Yes, you can get a highly subsidized phone, and we'll talk about that, but it's just different.
And remember, Scott, this is new to America. We aren't the rest of the world. This is basically a standard practice in many parts of the world, especially Europe. That when we talk about contracts and getting into a binding agreement, basically every European country laughs at us and say, so this is now Europe and probably some markets in Asia as well, basically saying, "Oh, you mean you didn't have this option before?" So I think it's great. Now, T-Mobile's footprint isn't as big as, let's say, Verizon, so it'll be much better received when they're everywhere. But right, I mean, they're looking to cover 200 million Americans by the end of this year with LTE, and that's because most Americans, live in an urban area, unless you're Derek Ross. You live in the middle of nowhere, and you'll never get. Or Jonathan Franklin, or Wookiee. Okay,
or Wookiee.
Look at that. So right now, only 2 of you live in urban areas. 3 of us don't. Anyways, so yeah, is it awesome? Yeah. So anyway, Scott, let's talk about some of these plans and changes here.
Okay, so we got Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile. So if an individual were to get a plan, we'll just be aware that Sprint is unlimited and T-Mobile is unlimited. AT&T is limited and Verizon's limited. So T-Mobile for an individual will be $2,259
over the course of 1 year, right?
Yeah, and for Sprint, $2,800. AT&T, $2,800. Verizon, $2,600. So for an individual, it makes sense for somebody to go to T-Mobile. For 2 people, you got $4,000 at Verizon, $4,000 AT&T, $5,500 for Sprint, and $4,000 for T-Mobile.
5.5. Wow.
5.5. That's ridiculous.
How is Sprint that far off?
Well, just wait. There's more to come. So,
wait, there's more.
So a family of 4, Verizon is $6,100, AT&T is $6,300, T-Mobile is $6,600, and Sprint is $10,600.
So what you're saying is, if you're married and have 2 kids, do not go to Sprint.
Do not.
Jesus, that is insane.
It is ridiculous how much that is.
Now, a lot of people go to Sprint because they were truly unlimited. Well, T-Mobile is now truly unlimited. You can get full 4G. They're either HSPA Plus or LTE.
70
for $70. Yeah, and for
unlimited everything.
Yep.
I'm kind of surprised after because so many people are like Verizon's just so expensive, and Verizon came in pretty good compared to AT&T and Sprint. Granted, that's on a 2 gigabyte tier plan, but really most people are going for that bottom plan on any of them anyway. So
yeah, I was really surprised by the Verizon prices compared to the other carriers, and as well as Sprint. I didn't know Sprint was that expensive, which
so
crazy.
Now, comparing prices, what about that bootloader? Do we have any stats on bootloaders being locked and unlocked on carriers?
I don't think. Well, with T-Mobile,
that was my attempt at a bad joke. Since Verizon locks every bootloader, that was a bad joke. Pretend I didn't see. Well, we'll edit that out.
You're not that funny.
Speaking of Verizon, because a couple of months ago, I remember when they interviewed their CEO, and he said that he actually called T-Mobile's plan to end subsidies a great thing before he actually saw what these plans were going to be. I wonder what their response to it is going to be, because
they were assuming that they were going to be higher, I bet.
Yeah, I don't think a Verizon CEO is going to say this is a great idea without seeing dollar signs in it. So I think Verizon's thing would be more like, oh, well, we're going to keep the crappy plans. We're just not going to subsidize phones anymore.
Well, I think that they're okay. So T-Mobile's not really one of the big guys. So
not at all.
In order for Verizon, AT&T, or Sprint to change, more so Verizon and AT&T, I think another big guy has to join the fun and see that another carrier is doing it, so then they can go, oh crap, they're doing it, why not we're doing it? But T-Mobile, not so much. I mean, if they learn over the course of time how much they bleed, then they'll start to get smarter. But as of right now, I think it's going to stay the same for a while.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
If T-Mobile and Sprint both adopted these plans, it might be enough to kind of put a little bit of pressure on the pricing structure. But
yeah, at least they changed their plans a little bit, maybe offer more data.
Sprint has at least shown themselves willing to work a little bit more for consumers, but they kind of sold their soul to get an LTE network right now too. So
yeah, so if you're single T-Mobile. If you have a family, don't go Sprint. Actually, go Verizon.
And you know, it also all boils down to where you live at in the country and what coverage you have in your country. If we could all go to if customers could go to whichever network they wanted to based on price alone, that would be something. But that's not the case. We have to go by who has coverage in your area, because your device is only as good as the network that it's on. If the network that it's on,
with your Nexus,
as I found out,
Derek has found out trying to run a Nexus on 2G.
I am a perfect advocate for this. I wanted to go to a different network. I wanted to go to a different carrier. I bought a Nexus 4 the day it came out and used it for 2 weeks on another carrier. I used it on Edge 2G because that is all that is here. But right now, my DNA rocks LTE, so that's the kind of thing that I have to deal with here. It's be on the carrier I want and not have service, or be on the carrier I don't want and have LTE everywhere. And that's really what I deal with. And a lot of people are that way too. Your device is only as good as your network. So hopefully T-Mobile continues to shake things up in the mobile market, and hopefully they continue to expand their footprint. Metro PCS, will help grow their network. They're planning on, always planning on growing their network. I think of them as an urban carrier. I don't really think of them as a rural carrier, but that may change in the future. Who knows?
Okay, so awesome. Let's do a little bit of wrap up.
Yeah, let's wrap this up, Scott.
For those of you watching on YouTube, if you want to subscribe, we got a playlist in the bottom of our channel.
Can we point to it like all the cool kids do? They point right. It's like down here. You know what people do?
Yeah. If you want to go to AndroidAuthority.com, scroll down to the bottom right. There's a section called On Air. We also have some news. We're going to be on a new source. Derek, what source are we on now?
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot. Let me guess. Currents.
Yes. So,
yes. What did I win? Yeah. So
you pass the flying colors.
So you load up Currents, right? And you tap Android Authority, or if we're not on Currents, you just hit search and you type in Android Authority. You subscribe to us on Currents, and if you want to listen to the podcast through Currents, you can do so. It's awesome. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. You click on Android Authority, click the drop-down menu up top. You go down to On Air Podcast. You click it, you tap it, and then you can tap the little play button and listen to us as you go about your day.
Yeah, we are also available on SoundCloud, iTunes, Podbean, and
Bureau, RSS
Radio.
Feed, find your own. We're blowing up the interwebs, basically, is what Scott's saying.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thanks for coming, John, Wookie, Vergara, the man that breaks devices. Look at that right there. Hold him still. We'll end on the note of the carnage that is you. All right, guys, have a good night.
Peace.